thank you for joining me. You are tuned to AirJobBoss TV. If you like this video, please click like. If you think someone else could benefit from it, please share it. And of course, subscribe for more interesting pilot interview, question and answer series. This one comes from a viewer. Pardon me, I don't know what's going on today. Anyway. Yeah, this one comes from a viewer. It was in the comments section. So if you have a question you'd like me to answer, please put it in the comments. I'd be happy to address it. And this question is, tell me about a time, or what if a captain will not write up an MEL prior to departure? Meaning they're disregarding a maintenance item. They won't put it in the logbook. They won't, you can call it a squawk, a discrepancy, a deficiency, however your company phrases it, but you're the FO, the situation is the captain, you pointed out to the captain, hey, the tire looks worn out, and he says, I'm going without it, okay? How are you gonna address this? Okay, let's be careful, and we're gonna use a lot of steps here to basically elevate the urgency or walk our way through this procedure. And let me give you the bullet points. 1, inquire as to why the captain does not want to write it up. That's step 1. We'll go into it. 2, advocate your position with reason and documentation. Okay. Number 3, bring in a third party, such as a mechanic, a chief pilot, or union member. Yeah. 4th, insist on the write-up. Leave the aircraft so that it's not able to be flown with the improper, not enough crew, and report up the chain of command. So these are these take an elevation of severity, yeah? So you don't want to just go, well, I'm going to tell him that I'm not going in a broken airplane, and he better write that up, or I'm going to the chief pilot, right? You don't want to kind of come off like that, because they're going to think, whoa, hey, whoa. Well, what if the guy, he knows more about the tire wear than you? Maybe he's got a document that just came out that you don't know about. Okay, so here's how we're going to answer this. What would you do if a captain is not willing to write up a maintenance discrepancy before a flight? You're thinking about it, pretending you're thinking, and then you're going to say something like this. Well, it really depends on a lot of circumstances. For example, what exactly is the item? I want to know what exactly the mechanical item is. If I've found it, for example, if I have a worn out tire, I go on walk around and I say, Captain, there's a worn out tire. We've got to write up the worn out tire. And the captain says no. The first thing I'm going to do is ask him why he doesn't want to write it up, because there might be a very good reason. He might have knowledge that I don't have. And so I'm going to ask for additional information from him, because he is the captain, and he is due respect and inquiry and cross-checking of circumstances. So I'm going to ask him why. Now, if he says something like, oh, I just don't want to write it up because it's going to delay our flight, I am going to advocate my position with reason and documents. So basically, I'm going to say, Captain, I certainly appreciate that. I want to get home too. Unfortunately, it is required, I think, to be written up. Let me check. Oh yes, here in our maintenance manual, it definitely says that we should write it up when it has this kind of wear indication. And in fact, it does have this kind of wear indication. If you like, we can go out and look at it together, but it really is in the book, and we do need to write it up. I would advocate my position. Now, if he certainly says, I don't care what you say, maybe it's within range, maybe it's not within range, I didn't look at it, I'm not going to go out there, it's raining, I say we're good to go, and we're going. Then you can say, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I think it's important that we bring in maintenance to look at it. Let's have maintenance. Why don't we call maintenance out here, have them make an inspection on it, and I would bring in a third party. Now, if the captain is like, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to say, well, we're coming to a little impasse here. As far as I know, this is a required write-up, and it requires a write-up. That is our charge. That's our responsibility. Now, I'm only the FO, so I'm going to have to call a chief pilot on this one and just make sure I'm wrong and make sure this is all okay. It may be at that very moment that the captain acquiesces and says, okay, whatever, let's write it up, begrudgingly, if we're dealing with that type of circumstances. So bringing in that third party, or at least announcing that a third party is going to be brought in, could motivate that pilot to actually enter that maintenance in the logbook. Finally, if the captain says, you're not calling anybody, put that phone down, I'm late, I've got important things to do, and I'm not writing it up, and you're going to sit there and we're going to go on our way. Then you're going to say, Captain, I'm sorry, I'm removing myself from the flight, and I'm going to need to report up the chain of command over this. Okay, because you're not going to not report up the chain of command when you're walking off a flight, and you're not flying an airplane that has a mechanical discrepancy that is not addressed. That is contrary to regulations. It's willful non-compliance. You don't deserve it. The captain doesn't deserve it. And certainly the passengers in the back do not deserve that type of treatment. So you are going to absolutely at the end stand your ground. You're going to stop the operation. You're going to report up the chain of command if it gets to that point, right? But you're going to slowly walk this up. So find a scenario. Maybe you've had one in the past. I don't know. You generally do not run into pilots that are not writing up an aircraft. Normally, pilots are going to write up an airplane. If it's a known mechanical defect, they're going to do that. It's very rare that you come up with, but they want to make sure that you will do it, and they also want to make sure if you have a well-regulated, progressive approach to it. You're not jumping in, not making a conclusion, and you're bringing in third parties, and you're using various techniques rather than, a very abrupt presentation to him. You better do it or I'm walking. You got to give him the benefit of the doubt, give the captain an ability to change his mind through gentle persuasion, if you will. These are CRM skills that you're going to use. Communication skills, if you will, which is a very important core competency to becoming a professional pilot. Yeah. All right. So that is the conclusion. This one is kind of short and sweet. There's another video I made that's similar to this one, but you kind of get the idea. So thank you so much for joining me. Stay tuned for the next video right here on AirJobBoss TV.